Your Oregon Coast adventure just got a whole lot easier and more affordable. North Coast Express tickets are 50% off all month long. Whether you're headed to Astoria's waterfront, strolling the shops in Cannon Beach, or tasting your way through the Tillamook Creamery, you can skip the car and sit back and enjoy panoramic views from reclining seats, stay connected with free Wi-Fi, and relax knowing there's an onboard restroom and wheelchair-accessible boarding. Running Fridays through Sundays with service from Portland, you can book your ticket online at visittheoregoncoast.com/express and use promo code 50OFF to save 50%.
You can make a difference in someone's life, including your own, with a job in home care. These jobs offer flexible schedules, healthcare, retirement options, and free training. They also provide paid time off and opportunities for overtime. Visit OregonHomeCareJobs.com to learn more and apply. That's OregonHomeCareJobs.com.
Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking about the selling of the Portland Trailblazers and the concerns surrounding the deal. Also, how some worry the Moda Center's needed renovations could push the new owners to relocate the team out of Portland. And we're digging into our mailbag and hearing from you, our listeners. Joining me on this midweek roundup is our very own executive producer, John Notarianni. It's Wednesday, August 20th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Welcome, everyone, to our midweek roundup. John, thanks for joining me this morning.
Good morning, Claudia. Just that kind of week. I don't know.
Okay, cool. For this midweek catch-up, we're looking into who has stepped up to buy the Portland Trailblazers and all the noise surrounding it. But before we dive into that headline, John wants to tell you about a job opportunity.
Yeah, we've got some really big news that I am psyched about, actually. We are expanding the team here at CityCast Portland, and we are about to hire our first ever social media manager. We really want to bulk up our presence online, and we're looking for someone who really cares and knows about Portland to make original content like Instagram Reels or TikToks or YouTube Shorts, kind of in the spirit of what we're already doing here on the podcast and in our newsletter. So if you have a ton of experience creating really awesome social content, or you know somebody who does, we would really love to hear from you. It's going to be a part-time position through the end of the year, but it's coming up pretty quick. Applications are due on Friday. So if you're interested, go to citycast.fm and scroll down to the jobs page. And you can find out more about it. And we'll also have a link in this episode's show notes as well.
And you get to work with us.
And you get to hang out with us.
You buried the lead.
And you get to hang out with me and Claudia and Julia and Rachel and all the rest of the team here in Portland. Yeah, it's going to be, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really fun job.
Yeah, we've been wanting this position to exist for a long time, so this is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So jumping into the headline, I looked into how a group headed by the Carolina Hurricanes hockey team owner Tom Dundon is set to buy the Portland Trailblazers for just over $4 billion from Paul Allen's estate. The deal isn't confirmed. It's still subject to NBA approval. But according to ESPN and the Oregonian, he and the rest of the investment group, which includes a Portland-based CEO, intend to keep the team here in Portland. They've stated it, this is a Portland team. We're not going to move it. But many are still skeptical because the same thing was said when Starbucks owner Howard Schultz bought the Seattle Sonics way back when. And very similarly to us, Seattle's basketball arena was also in need of major renovations. And once that didn't happen fast enough for Schultz, he moved the Sonics to Oklahoma, changing their name to Oklahoma City Thunder.
Boo.
Yeah. And so many Blazer fans are worried that could happen again here because the Moda Center is one of the oldest stadiums in the NBA and is in need of some pretty big renovations. The funding hasn't been fully secured, as John's going to jump in and explain. But sources are saying that Tom Dundon and his group are very serious about keeping the Blazers in Portland, and they're actually still looking for local investors, which would further secure the team from leaving. One such investor that was mentioned, and I don't know where we're at with this one, is Timothy Boyle, CEO of Columbia Sportswear. The thought is that if there there are more local investors and there's more incentive to keep this team here in Portland. And fandom aside, like even if you're listening and you're like, boo sports, you cannot deny the economic impact a major sports franchise has on our state and our local economy. Like Willamette Week reported that if the Blazers left the city, the Rose Quarter, just the Rose Quarter alone, could stand to lose around $6.7 billion over the next decade. Now, we really need this team to stay. It's why you've seen our local leaders, from our mayor to our governor, all the way to our senators, push for these Moda renovations and has made it clear that they're willing to do anything to keep them in Portland. And like they were just like, we'll give you anything. So John, I know a lot of people are confused as to why it even needs to happen, because you look at it and you're like, it looks fine.
Yeah.
It's standing. It's shiny. What's wrong?
Yeah. Only basketball players and basketball stadiums are you over the hill at 30 years old, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, even said that the team likely needs a new arena when it was being discussed that this sale was about to happen. And there's a coalition of like local business leaders and former Blazers really pushing on local and state leaders to make this happen. Even before this sale came about, there was a lot of discussion about the fact that like the lease at the Moda Center was about to expire this year. But what happened last year, and I feel like this didn't get a lot of play, the city actually finalized an agreement to buy the Moda Center, right? So now it is publicly owned by the city, which means that the city is really on the hook for this as well. And some of these renovations are already underway, but it is a real outstanding question of like, well, are they going to renovate it? Are they going to rebuild it? Like, there's even some discussion that's starting to murmur of like, well, maybe they'll build a new one. And the Lloyd Center, once again, is being discussed as a possible location for a new Blazers arena.
Poor Lloyd Center.
But nobody really knows what's going to happen. And there is a little bit of hand-wringing that, like, if Dundon, as he sort of leads this group that's trying to buy the team, decides just to renovate the Moda Center instead of rebuilding a new one, that could be an indication that he is looking at potentially moving the Blazers out of Portland down the road. This is all speculation. And the last thing I'll say, there is some sort of new controversy surrounding Dundon that is starting to come out from some reporting that just came out in the Oregonian. So Dundon has been involved in a whole bunch of investment properties for different types of sports leagues. And there is ongoing litigation about his role in the 2019 collapse of the Alliance of American Football. This is like minor league football. He'd said that he was going to invest $250 million into the league. He was sort of being praised as the savior of this league. The litigation says that he only put in $70 million, and that led to what ultimately happened was the league's collapse. I mean, this is sort of playing out in the courts. This is one of those business things that is like deep and complicated, but it does raise some questions about his credibility and like his dual hat as like a big booster of sports, but also a businessman and a person who is really looking at like the bottom line of all of these investments that he's making in sports franchises across the country.
Well, I think it's more than just a businessman. It's the aggressively going in without actually looking under the hood. And so if he's coming through and he's just like, I got everybody in, and he goes through and he looks at the Moda Center, he's like, oh, even though everyone's been like, hey, the Moda Center needs renovation, then he'd be like, but I didn't think about it. And then he takes the team, or he just pulls out. Like, no matter what, it's going to be annoying for Portland, you know, or heartbreaking at worst. But I'm curious about the Moda Center. What exactly needs to change? Like, why is the Moda Center, like, how are people not able to play basketball in it anymore?
I mean, this is sort of the question about sports stadiums across the country. You know, over the last 30 years, the face of the way that these arenas are built has changed a lot. You know, I mean, and that can come to the presence of suites, the availability to have amenities for guests, let alone just like facilities, like the infrastructure that goes into them. The design of stadiums nationally has changed quite a bit. And, you know, again, if you think about any piece of technology that's 30 years old, it might still work okay. But if it's not up to snuff with what is going on in the rest of the country, especially when every city has been investing billions and billions of dollars, it's just sort of like, why would you want to invest in a 30-year-old piece of property when there's a shiny new one that's happening here or there?
Well, it just sounds a bit like keeping up with the Joneses and then possibly giving outside interest. Another reason to invest in Portland and the team. But I gotta say, I was given a tour recently of the Moda Center, and I did see a few of the cracks. I don't mean like actual cracks. I just mean like in the visiting center when you're waiting, like the leather seats were like all split. And, just like stuff that you're just like, this should be a really fancy, nice place. So I'm starting to see, even though like the offices themselves were nice, I could tell it felt cool for like the early aughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm imagining the sports facilities for like actual players, like what the locker rooms might look like, that kind of thing,
Yeah, and for the Blazers, which is a business that is worth billions of dollars, let alone the other things that go on at the Moda Center, like major concert tours.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
The Portland Fire, the WNBA team that's going to be living there. Like, there's just so much at stake with this physical space that I think it kind of makes sense that there's a demand for it to be top of the line.
Right. Well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, I actually have a little surprise quiz for you, John. And we're also checking out our listener mailbag.
Ooh.
If you're a home DIYer like me, you might have a few leftover paint cans gathering dust in your basement. Or maybe your house already came with a bunch of them like mine did. So I'm happy to share that Paint Care makes recycling your leftover paint, stain, and varnish simple and easy with convenient drop-off locations as close as your local hardware store. Paint Care has 3 simple rules for painting smarter. 1, buy the right amount of paint for the job. 2, use up leftover paint. And 3, recycle the rest. If you visit paintcare.org/3simplerules, you'll find tips on how to do all 3. Buying the right amount of paint for your project, exploring DIY ideas for how to use up leftover paint, and also just look up the nearest drop-off site in your neighborhood. Paint Care is all about keeping it simple for Oregonians. Time slows down in Walla Walla, Washington. And that's the point. You can experience a vibrant and relaxing getaway, going at your own pace, doing as much or as little as you want. And if you love to eat delicious food and drink good wine, this is your destination. Walla Walla Valley produces everything from wheat to asparagus to strawberries to, of course, their famous Walla Walla sweet onions. So there's plenty of farm-fresh, fine dining from celebrated chefs to explore. But it's also home to more than 130 wineries offering a variety of expressions and vineyard experiences. And all of this is just a beautiful and scenic 4-hour drive from Portland. Go to wallawalla.org to plan your visit today. That's wallawalla.org. The 12th annual Montavilla Jazz Festival, presented by Accelerator Design Studios, is happening from August 29th through the 31st. Portland's biggest local jazz festival, they're putting on more than 25 concerts across Montavilla and Mount Tabor Park. Also, did you know that Montavilla is actually a contraction of Mount Tabor Villa Edition? Just a random Montavilla fun fact. Anyhow, back to this ad. Discover the scene, the sound, and the Mount Tabor Village vibe at a mix of indoor and outdoor concerts. Some events are free, but you'll want a Jazz Adventure Pass to experience the heart of the festival. Go get your Jazz Adventure Pass today at montavillajazz.org. That's montavillajazz.org. All right, John, actually, I wrote this quiz, just so you know, last week. And so I wrote it specifically for 2 people who had possibly never watched a basketball game in their life. I think you're going to freaking crush this.
I am not an NBA expert by any means, so I am prepared to be embarrassed as well. So let's go.
My gosh. But basically, these were like fun facts that I wanted to tell people. I'm like, no one wants to hear my fun facts. But I was like, but what if it's in quiz form? So, John, 3 questions.
All right, let's go.
Where did the Portland Trail Blazers name originate? A really potent strain of cannabis found growing wild on the base of Mount Hood. B, a guy in Gresham named Matthew P. Trailblazer who was super good at basketball. Or C, a fan contest held when the team was established in 1970.
I'm going with C because that seems the most likely, but I actually didn't know that fact. Unless it was B, unless it's just this guy from Gresham, which...
Matthew P. Trailblazer?
Yeah. No, I'm voting C. Okay.
Oh my God, I would have loved it full-heartedly. You were like, it's obviously B. Maddie P.T. Yeah, the answer is C. The name is a nod to Lewis and Clark and the pioneers and whatnot. But everybody actually wanted it to be the Portland Pioneers, but there was already a team, like a university had the Portland Pioneers. Huh. People wanted that alliteration. And I think the Trailblazers were like the best, second best.
I think we made the right choice there.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
Trailblazers is so much cooler than the Pioneers.
Because you get to say Blazers, and that's way better.
Yeah.
Anyhow, what year did the Blazers win their one and only NBA championship? Was it A, 1971, B, 1977, or C, 1979?
Oh my gosh, this is actually tricky. Can I just take a guess? Can I just go on vibes on this one?
Yeah, vibes. Go for it.
I'm feeling B. I'm feeling 77. That feels right.
That is a good vibe take because the answer is B.
Oh!
It's why the bar in MLK, walking distance to the Moda Center, is called Spirit of 77.
Yes. Okay, maybe that's what I was subconsciously going on.
Uh-huh. It's also why you'll see a lot of Blazer shirts or whatever, and they'll just say 1977.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's a little sad, but it's fine. It happened once, never forget. So last question is, what is the origin, and I know you know this one, of the phrase Rip City? Is it A, named after the Cascadia fault line that will eventually rip this town apart? Is it B, actually it's pronounced RIP City, and we've actually been saying it wrong this whole time? Or C, it was yelled by a very excited announcer after seeing a particularly amazing half-court shot made by a Blazers guard against the Lakers back in 71.
Oh, it was definitely C, and I have the guy's name on the tip of my tongue. But I'm not going to make you wait around for me to remember it.
It's the Shawns. The answer is C. It's Bill Shawnlee.
Yes,
He was
yes.
the play-by-play announcer for Portland Trail Blazers for almost 3 decades. From the team's launch in the 70s until 1998, he passed away a couple years ago, and he was the person who gave Portland one of its coolest nicknames. The lore is that he wanted to say ripping through the cord like the basketball net, but instead he got too excited and he just said, Rip City! All right. And there's even more lore that said that this was a thing teenagers used to say in high schools, like Rip City.
Really?
Yeah, and that they made it cool first, and he probably just heard it and just said it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter what the lore is, love that we're called Rip City because it's a fun thing to explain to out-of-towners.
Claudia, I think you need to invent a catchphrase. Can you start working on that for us?
Oh, sure. Hey, by the way, nice job. You got them
thank
all.
I got them 3 for 3.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into our mailbag.
Yeah, I can get us started. So this is off the back of a news roundup that I think I hosted when you were on vacation, Claudia. And from the opening question, when we talked about that story, how the USDA has been playing AC/DC from drones to scare away wolves in Southern Oregon. Did you catch this story?
That's going to make them stronger. Everybody knows that. It's just going to make them cooler.
Apparently wolves don't like AC/DC.
Surprised.
So we asked our readers of Hey Portland and our listeners what they think you should play to scare away wolves. Erica B got at us and said they should try the sounds of the Heiberg garbage truck brakes coming down the street at 6 a.m., which I found a delightful comment because I don't know if this has made it onto the show, but our producer Julia lives in an apartment that has a garbage truck that comes by her window at 9 o'clock every Thursday morning, which is when we are also always trying to record.
Yeah. And you can literally hear every single piece of trash that gets dumped. You can hear it and you can visualize it in your head. You're like, why did someone throw a microwave out?
Yeah.
You just
It's very loud.
Sounds like bricks. It's amazing. Well, I have one here about last week's episode on Portland's 2010s music scene with Portland Mercury music editor Nolan Parker. Before I jump in, I want you to know that the title was Were the 2010s the Most Influential Era of Portland Music? And this incensed someone. So Gray J wrote, short answer, no. Has the 1990s Portland music scene been erased? Insert sound of my creaking old bones as I stand up from my rocking chair. Heat Miser, Elliott Smith, Dead Moon, which I was about to say something about that. And then they wrote, okay, technically late 80s, but I'm claiming them for the 90s. Hazel, Pond, Quasi, they go on. Team Dresch, King Black. It's just going on and on. No hate on Nolan's opinions, but I don't think they should be given the keys to driving the discussion for what the best era of Portland music is if they moved here in 2011. Also, 2010 is not old Portland. So...
Woo, that's some Gen X heat, if I've ever heard it.
I know. Can I just... Gray J, this is just you and me talking right now. I need you to know that there are people younger than you and there are people older than you. And right now, there are people from the 80s going, I'm sorry, the Wipers? I I'm sorry. Poison idea. I'm sorry. And this can go on and on and on. I just want to reiterate, no one said the 2010s were the best. That was a title of question really created by Julia to incense readers. It shows that Julia did a good job.
I mean, and I think that this just sort of goes to the point, like we probably could do this episode for any decade of the past
of course
40, 50, 60, maybe not 60 years, but over the past several decades, there's been no shortage of great music coming out of Portland.
It's true.
All right, well, I've got one more based on people who are concerned about how many curse words we've been using on the show. So this is a rebuttal from Will H., and this is his subject line, not mine. More fuck words, please. Again, in the voice of Will H., not my own voice. Here's what he has to say. Drive away the cowards. Do not bow before the faint of heart. If someone finds naughty language distasteful, that's what radio broadcast is for. Meanwhile, podcasts are for grown-ups. And forcing someone to listen to a podcast is violence. These people need to put on headphones like a normal-brained member of society. Will H. representing the cursing, crude contingent of Portland.
And just to further explain what he's talking about, a couple listeners wrote in saying that in one episode in particular, we might have cursed a little too much, which I could totally see their point. One other point that they threw in as to why we needed to stop cursing was that it would be hard to listen to this podcast out loud with coworkers or mixed generations.
And I'm going to retort Will H.'s point and say, no, never listen to CityCast Portland in headphones. Always play it out loud as it can, and tell everyone around you that you're listening to CityCast Portland and how they can subscribe as well.
People will love you. Here's a last note here. We actually got a correction in response to our August 14th Sunnyside Neighborhood Guide episode. Our guest, Alex Frayne, mentioned in passing that the Hollywood Theater, Movie Madness, and Cinemagic were now under the same umbrella. Alex G. wrote in to say that Hollywood Theater does not own Cinemagic. Specifically, he wrote, perhaps the guest was thrown off by the Movie Madness return box. So I did some digging, and here's what I found out. Hollywood Theater and Movie Madness are now owned by the same nonprofit org. So that is true. But Cinemagic is actually owned by Nicholas Kuehler and Ryan Frakes, according to Willamette Week. And they purchased the theater from the previous owner, which is really cool. They're actually like the main workers there, which I love that story.
Yeah, that is cool.
I love when, when workers take means. I love when they take the means of production. Call me a commie.
The means of projection, Claudia.
The means, oh my God, he's so proud.
Right there with it.
His face before he said that, y'all, you should have seen it. He was like, it's coming.
It was just a millisecond. I knew I had gold.
Well, before we head out, I wanted to invite everyone to join us this Friday at Kickstand Comedy in the Park at Laurelhurst Park in Southeast Portland. We'll be in the back under the Green CityCast tent. Bring a blanket or some chairs and come hang out with us. We'll even have some CityCast swag to share. You can catch sets from 8 fantastic stand-up comedians, including some local favorites. Blankets are dropping at 6 p.m. Show starts at 6:30.
Yeah, it's going to be real fun. Also sort of a taste of like what CityCast neighbors get, these sort of exclusive events, but we are opening this up to everyone in the audience. So Friday night, come hang out.
So generous. And John might have actually a few more cool puns to share with everyone.
I'll keep working on it. I'll keep the pun machine going.
Well, thanks, John, for hanging out, and I'll see you in 2 minutes.
All right. Thanks, Claudia.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, rate or leave us a review. It really does help us out. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.